suing their client, who contends he's done nothing wrong and that all interactions were consensual. Judges have thus far granted that request in at least 13 of the cases. Panel, given the sexual nature of these civil claims and the possibility that these women could later be designated crime victims, are you okay with their identities being revealed? Chau Nguyen, I've got to go to you on this one.
Well, as a representative of the Houston Area Women's Center, we support survivors of sexual assault and domestic violence. And here's what I can tell you. Sexual assaults are one of the most underreported crimes. 90% of them go underreported. Of the 10% that get reported, only 7%, and Chris can appreciate this being a lawyer, 7% of those cases make it all the way through disposition because it is so tough for survivors to share their story. And they absolutely should deserve the privacy and the confidentiality they choose. If they choose to speak out, like the young woman who spoke out this week with Tony Busby and his lawyers, allow them to choose. But on the same day, I should mention, the same day that that press conference was taking place, we were in the legislature talking about confidentiality for sexual assault survivors, lobbying for it and getting bipartisan support, because we know how hard it is to share your story, to come forward, because you're going to be subject to shame, blame, social media judgment, ridicule. Let survivors choose on their own whether or not they speak out.
All right, Chris Tritico, let's say you're representing Deshaun Watson. Should he have a right to confront his accusers in a court of law in a public fashion?
Not only should he have a right, he does have a right. The problem with this situation is the way Tony Busby's handling it. In any case where I'm representing someone who's criminally accused, the state has the right to, and most of the time does, shield the name of the complaining witness in a case where there's been an alleged sexual assault. But I get that name, and I get to know what she has accused my client of. I get all of that information, and I get to investigate the case and the facts. And so I'm prepared for trial. What Tony Busby's doing is he is not giving the name, not providing the facts, and then going on the media every day, calling press conferences, beating Deshaun Watson about the head and shoulders. So he's using the rape shield law as both a sword and a shield. And that's why the courts are forcing him to disclose the name of the complainant, of the alleged victim. He can't do that which he is doing. And it's a case like this and tactics like this that causes these types of laws to fall as unconstitutional. It's what Tony Busby's doing that's forcing his clients' names to be made public. Had he used the law correctly and filed it as a Jane Doe, but provided the information with a protective order, none of this would have happened. It's Tony Busby's wrongful tactics that are causing his clients' names to be made public solely.
All right, Charles Blaine, as an African-American man about 5 years older than Deshaun Watson, is he being treated fairly?
Well, one thing I want to say first is that I'm really glad that Chau was able to give us those sobering statistics, because when this first came up, I said on this show that one of the things that I was having trouble reconciling was that they didn't go to HPD, and that shows why they didn't, that so many of them go unreported, because so many of them are questioned. And so I'm really glad to hear those statistics. My issue is that I do feel that he needs to have the ability to know who is accusing him. They said that he gets 2 to 3 massages outside of the Texans organization a week. That's roughly 150 or more a year. And so if you're being accused of something happening in 1, 2, even 30 of those out of 2 to 3 you get a week, it's hard to know which ones they are accusing you of doing wrongdoing in and being able to mount a defense against if you don't know who the person is. That's like if you get coffee every morning for a year and then suddenly you're being accused 6 months, 8 months ago of having stolen something at this coffee shop, and you can't understand which place that was because they're not telling you where it is. Now, obviously, 2 very different experiences, and I'm not trying to minimize their experiences. I'm just saying that it's really hard to know if you don't know who they're accusing you of doing something to. And so I do feel that he has a right to know